Stream across the world on radioalansar.co.za.
You know me more than I know myself. You love me more than I love myself. So I'm begging, begging, begging. I take his whispers. I need you to help me. So I'm begging, begging, begging. When I'm falling, you always catch my phone. When I'm calling, you always take my call. So I'm begging, begging, begging. I can't take this dunya. I need you to see me. So I'm begging, begging, begging. Yeah. I'm so ungrateful. Guilt eats me inside. I'm so thankful that you will leave my side. But even if I make a million mistakes, you always keep on giving chances that I don't.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to Echoes of the CASBAH. You with me, Buddy Govender, right here on your favorite space on the airways, Radio Al Ansar. Tonight I'm flying solo. Our brother Faisal MJ Suleiman is not available tonight, so you've got me. Tonight we are just going to go back into time, right as we always do on a Friday evening, 9 o'clock, Echoes of the CASBAH. Before that, we'll make our dua. Oh Allah, as the night wraps its quiet over the world, wrap us in your mercy. Forgive our shortcomings, ease our burdens, and grant peace to our hearts. Protect our loved ones, guide our steps tomorrow. Let our dreams be filled with light. Ameen, Ameen for all. Assalamu alaikum. Lovely to have you back again after last week. We had a break. It was big night. Hey, we are live on YouTube and Facebook as well on the Al Ansar app, so you can get on there on YouTube and Facebook, and you can actually see what we are doing right here in the studio. I'm doing right in the studio. 060-9041-056, the WhatsApp line into the studio. 060-9041-056. Or you can call in if you want to, 0861 904 904, and Monley will patch you through to the studio desk here. So the WhatsApp 060-904-1056, the phone 0861-904-904. Yep, as we always do, strolling down the streets of the CASBAH. Well, talking about streets, do you know what the new street names are in the CASBAH? You know, we all so well versed in knowing Victoria Street, Queen Street, Grey Street, Leopold Street, Beatrice Street, Lawn Street, Carlisle Street, Short Street, Cross Street, Pine Street. But what about the new names? Because I do know that we actually still mentioning roads or streets by the original names that we normally call them. Well, tonight we're going to look at some of that as to why were the names changed, what are the new names, and what's the significance behind those new names. And also, I'm still one calling it exactly as it is, Grey Street, Peter Street. The new names really don't it's not in my DNA as yet. But I'm sure, obviously, we're going to have to move away from there as time goes on. Those names will disappear, the old names. But we're going to be talking about that. But also, let's have a look at something else. What was life like for our parents in the CASBAH back in the day? You know, we've got all the souks. We've just come out of a souk. We didn't have souks those days, or did we? You know, we didn't have all the shows that we have now, the shopping festivals and this and that and this. What did they do to actually get some sort of life entertainment in the Casbah? Hey, we'll be chatting about that as well. Remember, within the Grey Street Casbah and surround, family just wasn't blood. Well, it was a bond, belonging, and of course, the backbone of who we are. It meant resilience in the face of segregation, warmth in tight quarters, and pride passed down through generations. Well, in that vibrant enclave of Durban called the Casbah, our families extended beyond the corridors, beyond the pavements, beyond the sari shops, the spice shops, the material shops, the churches, the temples, the mosques. It was a living network of support, tradition, and of course, shared struggle. Shared being the optimal word. What did our parents do in the Casbah? You with me, buddy Govender, echoes of the Casbah tonight. I'd love to hear from you. 060-9041-056, or you can call in on 0861-904-904. It is 11 minutes after 9 o'clock. During the course of the week, I was talking to one of my friends who's an avid listener to the show, and he said to me that he would love to phone. You know, he wanted to phone, but he just sat there with a big smile on his face. And I said to him, you know, I know many of you out there are sitting waiting for me to tell you and remind you about things, and you obviously have that warm smile on your face as well. And, you know, if you don't want to call, it's okay. If you don't want to message, it's fine. But I'd love to hear from you as well. You know, I'd love to hear maybe I'm on the right track, you know. I love that. So when I'm talking from my heart. But I'd like to hear your side of it as well. You know, everything is different. So let's have a look at it. Close your eyes. Come on. Close your eyes. What's the first smell or sound that you remember from the Casbah? You know, walking back from school, walking into a particular shop, tea room, or a particular sound, walking past a particular place or store that had that particular sound. What was it? Yep. So who here grew up in the Casbah? Come on, I know you out there. I know you've done it. Are you telling your children the stories? Are you telling your grandchildren the stories? Because if you don't, nobody else is. And if you don't, nobody is going to tell them that story. So we'd love to hear that you are telling your grandchildren or your children the stories as well. Remember, the Casbah became a powerful symbol of Durban's identity. And I'd like to also hear, you know, if you could describe the Casbah in one word or one sentence, what would it be? Uncle Aziz Hassan, the author, the late Uncle Aziz, he always told me that the Casbah was like a city, a village within a city, you know, a separate town within a city as such. Like in America, you get these, you know, Brooklyn's like a whole city within a city. Casbah was like that as well. What's your favorite shop, store? We don't need to go in particular, you know, topics tonight, but let's look at the names of the roads. You know, why was Durban Street renamed? Firstly, you know, it was only like after about 2000 and when was it? 2004. Well, 1994 was when they decided, you know, post 94 that streets are going to be renamed, but they didn't really get on with it right then. Around about 2009, they started looking at how do they honor liberation struggle heroes, activists, and of course, cultural figures as well. You know, the changes aim to reflect South Africa's inclusive history and also to celebrate African leaders rather than colonial figures. So we all know West Street, we know Smith Street, but then maybe we sort of heard rumblings about, okay, West Street was named after a certain general colonel in the army, some Mr. West, and Smith Street after Smith. Gardner was the guy in the army guard. But we don't really know. Gray as well was somebody. But obviously they needed to name it so that people could identify with it now, or the future to identify with it as well. There was also a policy framework It was guided by the South African Geographical Names Council Act of 1998, and Durban began implementing and renaming roads in 2006, 2007. Names, that we know, like Cathedral Road, I still call it Cathedral Road, and obviously named after the Emmanuel Cathedral that's there. Well, that's now called, Queen Street as well. Queen Street, as we know, was named after the royal family, the Queen as such. But now it's been given the name Dennis Hurley Street. And we know Dennis Hurley, and I knew the late Archbishop Dennis Hurley personally. I knew him very personally. In fact, I got a book that he gave me, and he signed it to Buddy from Dennis Hurley. And that's in my prized possession. So, at least I know somebody that one of the streets in Durban has been named after. But do we know the names of the roads? Alice Street, what's it called now? Peter Street, what's it called now? Albert Street, what is it now? I'd love to hear if you know some of those names, because it is important that we do sort of get to grips with that. 060-9041-056.
From his pain we learn throughout his life and his words. Everything you pray for, you'll get if you put on Allah first. Jannah, Jannah, ya Muhammad. Salla alayhi ya habibi, anta ya Muhammad. Huwa Ahmad, huwa Sayyidi, huwa Zahatun, birhidihi, min Makkah. المدينة جرته نور مبين عيني ضغتك في الدنيا فإن كنت أمامي لقبلت عينيك.
Message coming in from our sister Nadira Khan, and she says it gets confusing when you're on Google Maps and it sends you on a route with all the new names, and then you realize, hey, I know that street by its original name. It cost so much to change the street names. Was it necessary? We could have honored all those heroes in other ways. The money could have been used to upgrade the streets and the infrastructure, etc., etc. She says that's just my opinion. I hear you indeed, and I think changing the street names has some sort of good reason, but I hear you about maybe money could have been used in other ways to upgrade the streets, because that's what we're having a problem at the moment. In Queen Street, I'm often hearing when it rains, a little bit of rains, the sidewalks are flooded, and that's because all the vendors or the people that run businesses, informal, they stuff all the stuff down the drains. So the drains have got cardboard and fruits, pickings and stuff like that. And that definitely causes a problem. But unfortunately, coming with the history that we come from, names was inevitable that they would change some of the names. Yep, indeed.
Chosen by to be.
Well, it started with Grey Street because that's what it's all about, isn't it? The Grey Street, CASBAH as well. Well, now it's renamed Yusuf Dadoo Street. Yep, indeed, Yusuf Dadoo Street. And you must know this Grey Street is the main artery of the CASBAH, lined with shops, tea rooms, and of course, very, very important iconic venues like, that used to be on the corner, the Captain's, Patel's, Victory Lounge, some of the shops that we grew up around. But indeed, so, Grey Street is named after Dr. Yusuf Dadoo. Well, Prince Edward Street, Dr. Gunam Street, because that lady, Dr. Gunam, who I also knew as a little boy, I used to go to her with my mum, was one of the first non-white female doctors in South Africa. So they named it after her, Prince Edward Street, Dr. Gunam Street. How many of you still call it Prince Edward Street? Do you have any particular reason why you would call it still or not know the names? It's important that we actually look at that and reflect on that as well. Well, Beatrice Street, Charlotte Mkeke Street. That's right. Charlotte Mkeke was a pioneering black woman activist and educationist as well. So they named it after her. I'm not sure if she had any reference to Beatrice Street as well, whether she worked there or what it was, but they've named Beatrice Street Charlotte Mkeke Street. Anybody still calling it Beatrice Street, or do you still call it by that name? Because, yeah, very important. Dennis Hurley Street obviously recognizes the Catholic Archbishop Dennis Hurley, a prominent anti-apartheid religious leader. And do you know that one of the facts about Dennis Hurley is that he was the youngest Catholic bishop in the world? So having lived such a long life and having been elected as a bishop at a very young age, he was the longest running bishop in the history of the Catholic faith. Can you believe that? So that is really something. And as I said, I knew him personally. I used to often spend a lot of time with him in his library. I used to help him set it. And he was really a good man, very, very gentle, a big size man, but a gentle man. And I was fortunate to be invited as one of the special guests to his funeral as well. So, Queen Street will be forever known as that. And it's important that we do know these. Aliwal Street, Samora Machel Street. Now, there are a few streets that have names that don't really have reference to South Africa, but it has reference to allies in South Africa. Che Guevara Street as well. So those are some of the streets where we say, okay, it's got no real reference to South Africa, but it played some sort of role in the way South Africa has shaped itself. So, that's just talking about some of the things that names of roads that have been changed and stuff like that. So it'd be nice to hear from you. Let's have a look. I've got one or two messages, and that comes from brother A.H. Osman. He says, I'm tuning. Just wanted to say hi. It was awesome finally meeting you last Saturday morning at the Sherwood Hall at your karate dojo. Thank you so much for an amazing program. That's brother A.H. Osman. Thank you very much. It was really good meeting you as well. Sister Rukeya says, before the road was called 503, now it's called Danvira Crescent. Arbor Road is called Palm Road. I wonder where that is, whether that's in Phoenix or something. I'm not entirely sure. Sister Sarah Adams says, I'm listening to you and you're talking Beatrice Street. I had my dad's brother who lived there. I enjoyed my holidays there as well. Yeah, those were all the streets that I grew up in, living in Queen Streets for most of my life, Good Hope Center. Walking through Shiraz Arcade into Victoria Street, crossing over past the butcher shop, Sarkarts, past Danji's on the corner, walking up Prince Edward Street, past School Supply Store, over Prince Edward Street, past Hansa's, crossing over Leopold Street into Alice Street, Grey Street intersection, walking all the way down to Carlisle Street, turning left into Carlisle Street, walking all the way down to St. Anthony's, crossing over and going to Sastry College and then back as well. Wasn't that just beautiful times when we walked all that way? I was out there the other day. So if you have a look at my Facebook page, you will see quite a few photos I've posted of the Grey Street area. It is 24 after 9 o'clock.
He wasn't tainted. Oh, there's an angel. جناحه يملي الآفاق من ريشه ينزل اللؤلؤا علمه الدين وحي يقينا معه الأمانة والرسالة لنبينا هو لنا إليك ربنا عليك
Do you ever remember, or did you ever go to the market with your father or your mother or both of them? Well, I used to go with my dad to the market from Good Hope Center. Saturday morning, quite early. My dad was one of those guys that we got to move early in the morning. And I would walk with him. He'd hold my hand. We'd walk all the way down Queen Street, past Shiraz Arcade, past the bank. Remember the Barclays Bank was there? Past Ideals on the corner, cross over. And I do remember the building that was even there before Sayani Center. The Ideals, the big one across the road from the mosque. It was a small single-story building. On the corner was like a record shop. And they used to sell African music, and they would play it quite loud. And then as you walked on, there was a big tea room. That's right, across the road from the mosque. And then IG Hussein, and there was all these quaint little shops that would sell like farming implements, even saddles of for horses. And I would walk all the way with my dad. And then we used to go to the market and buy all the stuff. And my dad would put it in a bag. And in those days, when you went to the market and you bought beans, green beans, double beans, or that beans, you didn't get a packet for each beans. You had one bag. They would put it on that scale. And once that scale moved, pick it up and pour everything into that bag. So thinking about that now, when we took it home, that was probably my mom's job to sort out all the beans, green beans there, this beans here, double beans there, tomatoes there. It was like, But the thing that I remember best about that trip with my dad to the market was the trip back, because he would put me on a rickshaw with the bags, and he would walk next to the rickshaw, and I would be in the rickshaw, and I would ask him to lift it up, and he would lift it up, and I would go up screaming. Oh man, those were just so precious days, man. Those were just precious days. When I think about my dad walking with me, and tomorrow, 3 o'clock in the morning, tomorrow morning, 14 years ago, my father passed away in my arms. And that's something that's still, I can't get over it. 3 o'clock in the morning, I'll be up tomorrow morning, and I'll just spend a few moments thinking of my dad, because he was in my arms with my sister and me and him, and he passed away right in front of us while we were holding him, praying for him, telling him everything I wanted to tell him. My dad was a beautiful man, absolutely. When I think of my life, of the things I did as a boy, like that, walking next to the rickshaw while I'm on the rickshaw, priceless, man.
Remember all my love. Don't be scared. We'll meet again one day, 'cause it's not the end. If I just want you to know it was a blessing to see you grow. You were the answers I prayed for when I was alone. You're my hope. Wipe your tears and don't you cry. Don't you cry. You have a beautiful life. My heart will keep me alive until the next time we meet in heaven. With you every second in the prophet's presence. So take this moment to remember all my love. Remember every single one of us.
Oh, I remember all the good times. I remember all the love, and I remember every single one of my mom and my dad's hearts. Absolutely. May Allah grant them and all those that have passed on the highest status in Jannah. Ameen. Message coming in here, talking about that market, throwing all the things in there. It says, Assalamu alaikum, alaikum salam. It says, probably how the phrase is coined, "You giving me beans." Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Brother MH Osman, salams, my brother. Nice to hear from you. He says, since around 4 years, I used to go to the market on early Saturday mornings, and after that, my dad used to take me to Manjaras for tea and nankatai. Thank you very much. I must have been there a few years after you as well. That's where my dad used to take me as well, to Manjaras for tea and nankatai. He says I can share so much more about those days in the market. I can still picture those days. Sorry about the loss of your dearest dad, but he's in a better place. I mean, and I can't wait. I can't wait to hold him again and my mom, really, in the presence of the Prophet Sallallahu
يا من شكيت خطاياك علما بأنه يسمعنا.
Sister Rakea says Marfa 504 is called Arbor Road and 505 is called Palm Road, and both of them are in Chatsworth. Thank you very much, my sister. Well, remember, we're live on Facebook, Instagram, so you can check out I'm live on air. Brother Abdul Mullah says, Salams, my beloved brother and your tech buddy. Walaikum salam. He says, Dr. Gunam had a surgery in Kismet Arcade. That's exactly where I went to with my mum in Prince Edward Street, and that's our brother Abdul Khalik. Of course, Dr. Gunam had a surgery. I remember that lady clearly. Message coming in. I can't get the name. It says, hi, buddy. I'm still used to the old names. Honest. Of course, that's the old road names. Yeah, it says, I'm still used to another message. Yeah, it says, well, I still use the old names. Easy for me to identify them. Yeah, of course, I still do that as well. There's no ways that I use the new names to anyone that's old as well. 32 minutes after 9 o'clock, you with me, Buddy Govender, Echoes of the CASBAH. We talk about all things town, just lovely things, all precious stuff. What was it that made us where we are today? And, if we don't know where we come from, then we'll have no appreciation of where we are today. None at all. Absolutely. Albert Street. Now, Albert Street has a name that's really slightly difficult to pronounce. Inkunke Road. I hope I'm pronouncing that word correctly. I do apologize. Inkunke. And it says it reflects the Zulu heritage and cultural pride. It reflects the Zulu heritage and cultural pride. Now, Albert Street, I don't know, I would like to call it Mr. Sony Street, Avalon Tea Room, Mr. Sony, corner of Avalon, corner of Albert Street and Victoria Street. That would be a nice name for it, isn't it? I wish they would have also looked, asked us as well. As I said, Aliwal Street, Samora Michel Street, somebody that wasn't really South African, named after the Mozambique liberation leader and the first president of Mozambique as well. And if you do recall, he passed away and his wife married our first president, Mr. Nelson Mandela. Argyle Road is called Sandile Tusi Street. It recognizes Mr. Tusi, a local anti-apartheid activist as well. Peter Street, as I said, Charlotte Nkeke Street, a pioneering black woman activist and, of course, educationist as well. Berea Road is King Dinizulu Street. It honors the Zulu King Dinizulu, a symbol of resistance against colonial rules as well. So, yep, Albert Street, as we said, we know that. Alice Street. Now, some of the names in town, like Leopold Street, Prince Edward Street, Victoria Street, Queen Street, obviously named after the royal family. And Albert Street as well, named after the royal family. But Albert Street, as we know, we said, Alice Street also named after probably Princess Alice. Well, now it is Johannes Nkosi Street. It's named after the Communist Party activist that was killed in 1930 during the anti-pass protest. Johannes Nkosi Street, was Albert Street. So Pine Street, yep, Monty Nika Road. That's right, Pine Street, Monty Nika Road. It also commemorates Dr. Monty Nika, a leader of the Natal Indian Congress and anti-apartheid activist. I wonder how they got to name that particular road after him.
رفع الإسلام بجماله قال
Moving to Commercial Road, as I said, Dr. Yusuf Dadu Street. He was the Indian Congress leader and anti-apartheid activist. Now, I am fully aware that where the parkade is now, in between Pine Street and Commercial Road, was a open park as such. It had trees lining the edge, the perimeter, and that's where the Italian Indian Congress used to have some of their public meetings. But maybe it was sort of named after them because of that. Smith Street, Anton Lambeda Street, the founding president of the ANC Youth League was Mr. Anton Lambeda, and there's, some of the names that are now in there. I know a lot of you out there are still saying that you still talk about them in the old names. So, yep, indeed. Well, Sister Razia says, Assalam, beautiful memories because my legend Ramesh Hassan Saib lived in Albert Street for 55 years. Of course, I remember him very well. We lived in that area as well. Razia Khan says, yes, Mr. BG, big void when we lose our parents. Allah make it easy. So my late Nana should buy those big biscuits with tons of beads from Victory Lounge on it. And when we went to visit them, we would look for the brown packet which had that biscuit. Yum, it was. Oh, man, that big biscuit with that pink, green, yellow, blue sort of beads dotted all over it. Oh, man. Oh, iconic, isn't it? Iconic. Brother M.H. Osman says again, he says, I used to go to the market with my daddy and Poopy, and they also used to buy live chickens, and we used to bring it home in the bus. Many people used to do the same. The bus used to have many chickens. Yeah, indeed. I used to go, I was a surfer, and we used to take the bus from Peter Street to Umgeni Road, just there by Kings Park Stadium, and then walk all the way from Umgeni Road to the beach, the old Indian beach as such. And I used to be in the bus with my big surfboard, holding it on the side, and I saw these people with the chickens. I didn't want to go near them because I hear you. Sister Hasina says she can't hear the station offline. Anybody else having a problem? Well, Ramesh Hassan Saib says, that Sister Razia says, he's been a town boy after coming from Tonga. He was born and brought up there. So, yeah, of course, I know him as a town boy as well. Brother Mohammed says Dennis Hurley Street is a new name for Queen Street. It was nice in the old days, the top market, walk into the Indian market, past the Hazrat Basha Pier, how the hawkers used to throw glass plates flying like saucers from Muhammad Shafi Ismail. Thank you very much. She says, what about your followers in the soccer? Those were the good days. Yeah, of course. Basha Pier also, another thing indeed that I remember quite well. We used to be quite frequent in that as well. Sister Sarah Bibi Parag says she's watching live. I think it is. Thank you very much, my sister.
Welcome home.
So just some advanced news, breaking news, so to speak. Watch out for my podcast. I'm starting a podcast on Echoes of the CASBAH. I'll be doing shows and having it on all where you get your local where you get your podcast, Spotify, YouTube, all those platforms. You'll be able to get Echoes of the CASBAH with me, Buddy Govender. That's coming up in a couple of weeks' time. So watch out for that. It'll be a regular dose of CASBAH stuff. And of course, we'll be going right into it with lots of video as well.
Waking up today was no accident. Gave me health and happiness. Alhamdulillah.
Brother Assad says, Salams, how are you, buddy? Walaikum salam. Alhamdulillah, I am good today. Thank you. He says, I remember the market. My late grandmom was first in Empire. I'm not sure if it's Empire Building. And they had so many shops, which is not around anymore. So about the loss of your dad, Jazakallah for the lovely. Sorry about the loss of your dad. Jazakallah for the lovely show on Friday night. We really enjoy it. And this message comes from Muhammad Asad Akbar from Reservoir Hills, Durban. Jazakallah, sir. Thank you very, very much for that message. Certainly means a lot to me. Allah bless you and your family.
For every single thing you give me, I'm grateful. And I don't need to worry about it. If I forget to thank you, just give me a sign I can't ignore. I'm grateful. And I am so grateful. What you have leads to us.
Brother Abdul Mullah comes through on Facebook and he says, I used to go with my beloved father who passed away in Makkah in 1985. May Allah grant him the high stages in Jannah. Ameen. And he says, we used to call it the down market. That time we moved to Lawn Street and took the rickshaw back with all the vegetables. It was a lot of barakah in those days. There you go. I'm glad I'm bringing back some of those memories because they're unforgettable. Coming back in that rickshaw if you're a little boy or girl, and then you have the rickshaw guy and he would run, and then eventually he would lift up and you would be screaming with laughter. That was such good fun. You had all the vegetables in your bags, and obviously Dad was walking on the side. Thank you very much for that message as well. Yep, well, there was two markets. There was the down market and there was the top market. So the top market was at the end of Queen Street and Victoria Street by the Brook Street area. And then you would go across that bridge. Remember that bridge? Iconic bridge, man. People would be walking to and fro on a Saturday morning. And then you would come to the bus stop, the Warwick Avenue bus stop. And it was like on a small hill going down towards Warwick Avenue. All the buses would be lining up on that hill. And people would be selling stuff in between the buses to people that were in the buses. And I can still smell that particular, I don't know whether it was diesel or oil of those buses that were like starting and were moving to bluff people that they move in now. So, yeah, it didn't. So, when you would go down to the bottom by Warwick Avenue, that was the down market as such. So you had the top market at Brook Street, and then you had the down market. Now, both sold different things. The down market, or the bottom market in Warwick Avenue was basically fruit and veg. That was it. Fruit and veg. They would be selling all that stuff. Tomatoes, potatoes, onions, oranges, apples, beans, shallots, dhania, all that stuff on the bottom market. The top market, slightly diverse. You would get fish, offal. Do you remember offal? Yep. Fish, offal. Then you would have meat. And then you would have things like, there was a pet shop. That's right. People lived in Good Hope Center as well. They would have little pigeon birds and stuff like that. Then there was a whole lot of other shops that sold prayer goodies. So the market was split up into sort of, not really defined, but there were defined areas of right down the bottom towards Brook Street was the offal and the fish. As you moved up, you would then get the meat. And then you would come further down and you have all these other little shops that had a whole lot of stuff as well. Then you would have the English market. Do you remember that one? And that was down by the Alhambra in Warwick Avenue, like across the road from the Alhambra. And that was basically the white market. The whites would go there. That's where they would, cater for the white market as such. We never really used to go there. But I do remember going there later on with my dad when I think things were basically opening up as well. So top market, Brook Street, bottom market, Warwick Avenue, English Market was further down Warwick Avenue towards the Alhambra as well. Brother M.H. Osman says, the English Market, you just brushed my memory. Thank you very much. Brother Mac, he says, remember the beer hall at the Top Market? Of course. Hey, of course. Who could forget the beer hall? It was just there by Brook Street, and you know what? There was no interference. There was no animosity. They had the beer hall. All the African men would go there and do whatever, but there was no real problems. What is it that we can learn from that? I don't know. Sister Farida says, wow, was just going to remind you of the English Market. There you go. I told you. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Sister Shazad, I think it is, says, hello, buddy. Love watching your show. I live in Los Angeles and look forward to watching every Friday. I'm from Durban, and my dad owned a men's store, Boutique Romeo, of course. Who could forget Babes and the Boys, huh? In Cathedral Road, Boutique Romeo. Oh, yeah. Well, hope you're doing well in LA. Hey, Santa Monica, that was my favorite place. Go down to Santa Monica, Maine. That was my place as well. Thank you very much to listening in from Los Angeles, US of A.
Did the world just crumble and turn upside down? I'd rather let them know it's a genocide. Try to deceive this world into living a lie. But we see the truth and no believe the news. That we cry for hope and got a point to prove. And we welcome you to choose the best. Now we raise the left and right way to left. Every day they go by so.
Hey, don't forget you can follow me on Instagram. I'm out in Instagram at Buddy Govender, the @ sign, and then BUDDYGOVENDER. One word, at Buddy Govender. Follow me on Instagram, see what I'm up to as well. Let's have a look at my phone, because my brother Shane, my brother from Short Street, he says, Salams, brother. I echo your sentiments and memories about the market. The sorting of the veg and the rickshaw ride was a real experience. The value of money really had barakah. 10 Rand brought home packets of veggies, even jalebi and sev as a treat from Victory Lounge. May Allah grant you sabr, no matter the loss of your dad, of your loved ones, always leaves a void in our lives. Ameen. Ameen for us all, my brother. Thank you very much indeed. Sister Nadira Khan says, your dad and my dad were best friends. He was my father's best man when he got married. They were gentlemen. I too have very fond memories of your precious dad. Miss them so much. Ameen for that one. Oh, indeed, indeed. What good times we had with our mums and our dads and stuff like that there. Thank you very much to Sister Farida. 40 flats, that's right. Cheers, may Allah Ta'ala make it easy for you and Chantel, my sister. Always remember the beautiful memories he left behind. Keep those close to your heart. Your father was an outstanding gentleman. Ameen, Jazakallah for that. Thank you very much, my dear.
He prayed that he'd see me as part of his ummah. Yeah, Allah, he will meet me. So send my salams to the Prince of Medina. May he rest in peace. The most beautiful human being.
A message coming in, and it says, it's from Sister Razia. Says, hey, Victoria Street, beautiful memories. Ramesh Hassan Saib had his takeaway for 15 years called Chili Chicken opposite India Market. We walked in and out without fear of being robbed or hijacked. Sister Sarah Bibi Mustafa says that Market Cafe was her big brother Mahroom. It was his cafe that he was running in Warwick Avenue.
Send your salam to Rasulullah. When I wake up to the morning prayer that was taught to me by the beloved messenger Muhammad Rasulullah. to the time of night.
So let me go through some of the roads that have been changed, and I'm sure my sister in Los Angeles is probably horrified with some of the names. Indeed. Well, Brother Abdul Mullah says in the next CASBAH, one of the CASBAH shows, could I talk about Curry's Fountain and soccer matches? Indeed, and he keeps praying for my dad. Thank you very much. Well, if you watch my Facebook page, I write a lot on football. I write a lot on Curry's Fountain. I write a lot about town, so window shopping, all that stuff. But check out my podcast that's coming out soon. That's right, Echoes of the CASBAH by me, Buddy Govender, and that's going to be a big one. But let's have a look at some of the road names that have changed. Aliwal Street, Samora Michel Street, Argyle Road, Sandile Tusi Street, Berea Road, King Dinazulu Street, Albert Street, Nkunke Street, Alice Street, Johannes Nkosi Street, Beatrice Street, Charlotte Nkeke Street, Bel Air Road, Vusi Mezemele Road, Pine Street, Monty Nika Street, Prince Albert Street. Prince Alpha Street is now Florence Nzama Street. Prince Edward Street, Dr. Gunham Street. North Coast Road is now called Chris Honey Road. Warwick Avenue is called Julius Nyerere Avenue. And that's Julius Nyerere is the Tanzanian first president and Pan-African leader. What would we have called Warwick Avenue? Hey, Dashing Street. More apt, isn't it? Moore Road is called Che Guevara. It honors the Cuban revolutionary who supported African liberation struggles. West Street, Dr. Pixie Ka Isaka Seme Street, named after ANC founder and intellectual leader. Commercial Road is now Dr. Yusuf Dadu Street. Smith Street is now Anton Lembede Street. Victoria Embankment, Margaret Mkadi Avenue. Stanger Street, Solomon Mshlangu. Remember, he was the MK soldier executed in 1979. He's remembered as a martyr of the struggle.
The heart is turned away, feels emptiness inside, keeps falling from the sky.
So what did our parents do back in the day? There was no souks as they have them now. What did they do? Were they these shows? Did they go and let's be honest about it, okay? The closest thing that I remember as a souk was probably the Tupperware parties people used to have at home. Aha, there you go. People are saying, oh man, Tupperware parties. I didn't think of that. Do you remember the Tupperware parties? All the aunties would come over to your house. There would be cakes, there would be tea. And then there would be this one auntie who was the Tupperware auntie, as we would call her. And then she would put all the Tupperware out and you would look at it and she'll show you this and tell you how to use that. And people then would buy Tupperware that were invited. And us as young lighties there with our mums, we're only there for the cakes and the tea. Not really the tea, the cake and the biscuits. But that was like the start of souks in back in the CASBAH. But our parents had other things, we can't get away from it. The movies played a huge part in the CASBAH. You can't say, oh, I don't watch movies, I don't watch TV. Yeah, it was there. Sorry, it was there. That was a great outing, the Nas Cinema, Avalon Albert Cinema would play some really great movies. But the Nas and then Dreamland, it was Avalon before it was Dreamland, would have Indian movies, and they would be really beautiful Indian movies. The Raj Cinema was also one that would have movies, and I believe people got married there as well. I don't really remember actually people getting married, but they were, Then came the Shiraz. Well, excuse me. Shah Jahan was there. That was iconic. That was the biggest cinema in Durban. Then Shiraz and Isfahan came as sort of like boutique cinemas. Really was plush. There was carpets on the wall, air conditioning, those curtains when it opened. Do you remember sitting in Shiraz and looking at that curtains? And then when the movie started and that curtains open in a particular way, oh man, that was just something else indeed. Our parents went to those things. The movies were very, very popular back in the day, But another thing that we did was to entertain ourselves was sit at home and listen to the radio. There was all these shows, Squad Cars, Consider Your Verdict. And hey, my mom was never wrong when it came to giving the verdict, whether the guy was guilty or not guilty. But, we would sit together as a family and listen to the radio. Can you imagine that happening now? I think the radio will be on if we got a radio, and everybody would be on their phones. And he would say, "Did you hear that?" "Oh, no, I didn't hear that." Because we're just not like that anymore. But the religious centers, the mosques, the temples, the churches, they played such a valuable role as well in keeping us together. There were times where they would have functions and you would go over to them. And quite often, there were people of different faiths going to those functions as well. Non-Muslims would be attending those functions. Muslims would be attending other functions as well. It was really a community bonding thing in the CASBAH. Because if we didn't do that and we stayed to our own devices, we would die in the CASBAH. No ways we would survive. We had to be inclusive. We cannot get away from that. We had to be inclusive. And then sadly, as time progressed, did we get better? I don't know. We went off in our own streams and forgot that inclusiveness that we used to have. We forgot how you would help anyone and anyone would come to your aid if needed as well. If you needed sugar, Mrs. Muller will send that cup over to Mrs. Pillay next door, and that cup would come back full of sugar, or vice versa. We forgot that. I hope you enjoyed the show with me again tonight. Thank you very much for joining me on Echoes of the CASBAH. Inshallah, Friday nights, I will bring you all these memories. These are things that I talk from my heart, and they're in my head. And again, I say, thank God we didn't have cell phones back then, because we would never have remembered. I would never have remembered all the stuff that I do. My podcast is coming up. Catch me on Instagram at Buddy Govender. I'm on Facebook as well. You can get me there. Inshallah, tomorrow, I look forward to being with you again at 3 o'clock on Kickoff with me, Buddy Govender, where I'll bring you up to date in the world of sport. Mondi, thank you very much for making me sound good, my brother, on my right-hand side. Thank you very much for being out there, for sharing this time, this space with me. As always, from the bottom of my heart, I wish you, your families, the very, 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 very best of Allah's glorious gifts of good health and happiness always. Inshallah, I ask that you please keep my family and I in your dua as well. Thank you very much for all the messages and for all the comments that are coming in. For those of you that just sat at home and had that smile, thank you very much for that as well. From Khalil Gibran, your attitude in life will determine life's attitude towards you. Please try your best always. From me, Buddy Govender, and the entire Al Ansar team, enjoy a lovely rest of your evening. Catch you inshallah tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To you and yours, stay blessed.